Everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Thursday. Brian Kamenetsky, Andy Kamenetsky. LeBron James becomes the oldest person in NBA history to get MVP votes. And what can the Lakers learn from the 4 conference finalists? That's next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers your first listen of every day, Monday through Friday, no matter how or where you get your podcasts. This one's always free and never behind paywall. And of course, Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where over 35,000 Lakers fans are congregating, talking to each other, talking to us, leaving us questions, leaving us comments, including the guy, Andy, who said I should grow a beard so that there would be more contrast in my face. I don't entirely know what that means, but I have not actually shaved for a couple days. Please let me know if this is helping. I'm not. I don't think I'm going to go with what Andy's got here, but if facial contrast is what you need from my half of the screen, I am at least interested in providing people what they want.
To quote Corky St. Clair in the movie Waiting for Guffman, I hate you and I hate your ass face.
Right. I saw that. It does show. We read these comments, but I saw that. It's like he needs to grow a beard so there's more contrast in his face.
I'm not sure what this commenter meant. I just know there's a nicer way to say it.
Maybe. For the very least, a more understandable way.
Yeah.
It's hard. I've developed shaving rituals, which we'll probably get into, like really, brushes and soaps and single edge blades and all that. It's kind of fun. So I'm enjoying that. Anywho, Andy, in other news,
have we vamped enough? It's mid-May. The Lakers.
Right. So now that we've done our top story, let's get to our second story of the day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins, Andy. And if you were somebody who made that $5 bet that LeBron James would finish 6th in the MVP voting, well, my gosh, you are a big winner. LeBron, it was as the MVP voting was announced on Wednesday afternoon. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander wins, of course, no real surprise there. Nikola Jokic second, Giannis third. But tucked in there at 6th, LeBron James got, what is that, 15? Fifth place votes.
Yeah, 15 fifth place votes and one fourth place vote.
So, he's up there ahead of Cade Cunningham and Anthony Edwards and Steph and Jalen Brunson and guys like that. And so, the point isn't, is LeBron the 6th best player in the NBA? Should he have been higher? Should he have been lower? Pretty good year from your 40-year-old future Hall of Famer.
I've said this many times, not just over the course of this last season, but over the last few seasons as LeBron ages. Like, there are complications that come with having a player of LeBron's age and mileage and salary on your roster and trying to balance the building, if not entirely around LeBron, because it is truly the Luka era, but LeBron is a big part of that core. Like, there are complications to it. And I think people don't often recognize the juggling, for lack of a better way of putting it, that Rob Pelinka engages in to do this. But it does not change the fact that the dude is still playing at a high level and the dude is doing unprecedented things. Like, these things can be true at the same time because they are.
We often couch or, sort of frame what LeBron does as like, oh my God, this is an amazing for his age and the mileage, like you say, all these other things. But you look at the numbers this year, Andy, 24 and a half points a game, basically 8 rebounds, 8 assists, shot 51% from the field, almost 38% from three-point range, a very, very healthy 78% from the free throw line. So, and then, you saw the uptick in his defense as the season went on after the what we've called on the show the sort of come to Jesus moment after the Miami game, where the Lakers were thoroughly embarrassed, and the Lakers it was very clear, needed LeBron to deliver more on that end, and he certainly did. I mean, those are numbers that
he set the turnaround for the team was unfortunately not able to sustain it during the playoffs, but LeBron is
some of it, sort of.
Not regularly. They certainly were not on a regular basis able.
LeBron's effort in the playoffs defensively was pretty good.
I'm not saying. Well, I'm saying as a team. I'm not.
As a team they couldn't. I meant LeBron,
right?
Personally, defensively, did really well in the playoffs. I thought.
Right. What I was saying though was that the team was not able to sustain the defensive surge that they had through most of 2025, but the surge really began before you get into the arrival of DFS, Vando's return, the emergence of Jordan Goodwin, everything that was there with Max Christie and Anthony Davis while they were part of the team, different things, JJ adjusted scheming, all those different elements. Nothing mattered more than LeBron dedicating himself to that side of the floor, despite everything that he still has to do offensively. But once the old man is doing that, nobody else has an excuse not to do it. And it was a reminder that when LeBron is locked in, that dude can still be a very good defender. As he gets older, there's going to be, especially in like the first half of the season, there's going to be the picking of the spots inevitably, and it's going to be infuriating. And for fans, even if it's understandable, it will be irritating, and there will be times where the price that you pay will feel real for it. And even if you understand why it's happening, because he'll be in season 23 turning 41, there are ramifications from it. But again, that changed this year defensively for the Lakers, first and foremost because LeBron decided it had to change, and he dedicated himself to it.
Yeah, for sure. And so LeBron in this becomes now the youngest person to receive MVP votes, and he is now also the oldest person. He did it in his rookie season. He finished 9th in the MVP voting as a 19-year-old, and now as a 40-year-old, he finishes 6th. I did a quick count. It looks like this is the 13th time. Might be the 14th. Actually, no, it's the 14th time I think it is that he's finished in the top 10 in MVP voting, which is pretty impressive also. But just like I was saying, like it is not just a matter of, wow, LeBron is productive for his age. 24 and a half, 8 and 8 with over 50% shooting and 38% from 3-point range, give or take, is productive for anyone. And
well, let me simplify this. Unless you entered the season considered the MVP frontrunner and ended up finishing 6th, by definition, if you finish 6th in MVP voting, by any reasonable standard or context, you had a good year. If you really want to just boil it down to the simplest definitions and context, again, unless you entered the year considered far and away the guy expected to win, and you finish 6th. 6th means you had a good year. So the guy who did win, Andy, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, star guard for the Oklahoma City Thunder, he was part of what we call the discourse on NBA Twitter on Wednesday following Game 1, Oklahoma City's Game 1 win over Minnesota. Some call it online bitching, Brian.
The discourse. Mm-hmm. I don't like the discourse, Andy, generally. There's some stuff in there that relates to the Lakers, but there's also some stuff in there that is just worth chatting about in terms of not Shai winning the MVP, which I don't have a problem with, but all the other stuff. We'll get to it next.
Locked on Lakers is brought to you by FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing. We're in the conference finals. I think it's been a really fun playoffs, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, can't-miss moments, and whether you're talking about a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live with player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart, win big. Track the players who consistently show up in the big moments and when they put on their superhero capes. And those trends can help you inform your next bet. Maybe take that knowledge, roll it into a same game parlay, press things up, keep it interesting, exciting, weird, however you want to do it. And if you're new to FanDuel, it is the perfect time to sign up. You head to FanDuel.com, place your first $5 bet, pick something really obvious. If it wins, you get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA.
We'll get to Shai here in a second. The one more thing that I always find fascinating about this, that is, you talk about the complications of LeBron, and we're in the same sort of ballpark on this issue. I think sometimes I think you tend to think they're maybe a little bit more consequential sometimes than I do, or at the very least consequential in ways that are different than the ways that other teams have to manage some of their stars. But I will say this. One of the things that is remarkable about the complications here, everydayers have heard us mention this before. There is a 0% chance that when the Lakers signed LeBron 8 seasons ago now, that they thought he would, still be playing
seven seasons.
This will be his 8th season. Thank you. That going into his 8th season in Los Angeles, he would be playing at a caliber that would allow him to finish 6th in MVP voting. I don't think the Lakers thought that. I'm not really even sure LeBron thought that.
I was going to say, forget the idea of playing at this caliber. I don't think they thought he'd be playing, period. Or right. Certainly not convinced that they would be. It was not a given that he would be on an NBA roster, regardless of how well he was playing.
And that to me is like the biggest complication of all, is because there hasn't been this sort of moment like Kobe, like you could play, not going to play for a long time or whatever. There was a moment where you could tell, okay, you know what, this is pretty much going to be it. You could see it with Kobe. You could see it with his play. You could say, and for 99% of the league, that's what it is. You can tell when the end is coming, and the player can tell, and everyone kind of plan for it. LeBron, it just hasn't worked that way. He is not what he was when he was 30, but the wheels just kind of aren't falling off. But you have to kind of account for the idea that they could. And so it does become difficult to plan, because this just keeps going at a level where he's not really easily replaced, but he's also very difficult to plan around.
It's difficult to plan around anything that's open-ended. And this, for the time being, feels like an open-ended proposition. We know that the Lakers pride themselves as part of their brand of, we will cater to superstars to the nth degree. And LeBron is as big of a superstar as, forget the NBA, as any sport has ever produced. And the Lakers very much want LeBron to retire in a Laker uniform. And what you can get into, how important it should be, how much they should prioritize it, to what degree are there breaking points, whatever. But this is something that is really important to them, which means you have to account all the time for the idea that while LeBron still produces at a high level, this is not easy for him. Like, you can feel the work, you can feel the sweat, you can feel the labor in ways that peak LeBron often used to destroy worlds while barely looking like he was sweating. You see that sweat now, and there is an accounting that goes into trying to make LeBron's life and lift easier, that even though you try to do that with all your superstars, it's different for LeBron. It just is. It's disingenuous to claim that it's not different for a 41-year-old than it would be for a 32-year-old star, even if you want to make that star's life easier. I mean, the Lakers tried to put pieces around Kobe, and at one point they had Pau Gasol, Andrew Bynum, Lamar Odom, Ron Artest, Trevor Ariza, Derek Fisher. Like, those are excellent pieces around Kobe. They thought they were pulling in the mother lode with Steve Nash and Dwight Howard. It didn't work out, but the point being, the Lakers were always The Lakers were always trying to put as many great pieces around Kobe as possible, but it never felt like they were looking for Kobe to do less. You know what I mean? And
I don't entirely agree with that. I think there are a lot of putting better players around your star is so that they don't have to carry as big.
But you're always looking. I guess the way I would put it is you're always looking. They were always looking for Kobe to be Kobe. I think there are times with LeBron at this stage, you're looking for, if possible, LeBron to not have to be LeBron. That's the big difference to me.
Maybe, but either way, and I think the Lakers have done the heavy lifting at this point. I mean, Anthony Davis was supposed to be, the person who could do that,
absolutely,
but they've done the heavy lifting of making LeBron not have to work as hard, certainly offensively, by acquiring Luka Dončić. So, in terms of going forward, I don't see it as big of a deal going forward. They need to make the team better because they need to make the team better. But I don't think they need to make the team better because they need to lighten LeBron's load. They need more depth. They need better balance on the roster. They need all that stuff. So you don't want to obviously overwork LeBron. You don't want to have to.
But there's no other team where you think about your superstar potentially having to take a couple weeks off during the season to recharge.
He didn't do it. He played 70 games this year. He played how many games the year before? I mean, 71 this last year, 70.
But the point is, though, LeBron was available, but those type of propositions don't exist with other players.
I could probably think of 10 stars around the league where teams have to think about, is this guy going to need a week off? Is he going to need 10 days? Are we going to like that? That is so common now. I don't think that's specific to LeBron.
I mean, Joel Embiid who's never available, like he's truly never available, or Kawhi
but that's
Leonard.
Part of it. It's like, guys, you worry about their availability, and so, do you have to, maintain them throughout the season? Giannis gets time, has sat for games. I mean, like, I disagree that these things are as LeBron specific. Not that they aren't considerations with LeBron, but they are as LeBron specific. And he's played 141 games in the last 2 years.
I didn't say that he hasn't been available.
Right. So what's the impact though? Like if you have to think about making sure he's fresh, but he's playing in the game, so it's it's not disruptive.
Well, I think it caught up with him a lot. Okay, fine. It caught up with him a lot in the playoffs. He looked tired through a lot of the playoffs. He did. Like, it's difficult to have this both ways with a guy that's 41. It is no knock on LeBron.
So the team
41-year-olds aren't supposed to be doing this.
But it's again, I think there are a lot of players who, in this situation, you're looking around the playoffs, teams that didn't really play in a lot of guys or whatever it is, where fatigue looks like it becomes a problem. I just don't think it's unique to LeBron or the Lakers, perhaps as much as you do. But either way, the Shai stuff is fascinating to me because there's a lot of NBA Twitter, and God, this is a hyper online sport.
Way too online for
way
its
too
own
online.
good.
Yes.
Side note.
And the vitriol.
Adam Silver and the entire league should log off. Like, really, because you can tell they follow a lot of the discourse and it does them no good.
I get this idea of, people like the physicality of the playoffs. They like it, when men play like men and, contact, and we honorable, we don't, free throws or all getting fouled in trying to draw contact is dishonorable. I think for a lot of people in a lot of ways, like, this notion that, like, okay, if you get fouled, fine, but nobody should think of absorbing contact, trying to get and ones, trying to, get to the free throw line as an actual offensive tactic. The amount of Shai hate that was out there following game one, and it's been building up over the course of the playoffs, and quite frankly, would be more so if people paid more attention to Oklahoma City generally. It was insane waking up Wednesday morning, reading the reaction to Shai with, super cuts of every time he drove the lane, every time he got fouled, people slowing these things down like it was the Zapruder film. And I just found myself looking at this, Andy, going, I think you people are insane. And so when we come back, I'm curious what you think about Shai, about this notion of foul baiting, about officiating in the playoffs, because that really is relevant to how the Lakers are trying to put the team together. All of this stuff, and it kind of is encapsulated in how you react to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in this moment. So we'll get to that next. So I really do feel, Andy, in a lot of ways, like this is almost like a Rorschach test for how you look at the league, based on your reaction to Shai in game one.
I mean, I think I've talked about this on past shows before. Shai is one of my favorite players in the league. Like, he's been that way for a while. I didn't necessarily think he would be MVP level good, but when the Clippers made that trade and they sent SGA to OKC, I said in the moment, I think he's going to be a really good player. Like, because we live in LA, we saw, we have easy access to seeing a lot of Clipper games. Saw Shai as a rookie. I'm like, this kid looks like he could be pretty good.
Right.
And it became clear pretty quickly in Oklahoma City that he was going to be very good. I think is incredibly fun to watch play. I don't consider him a foul merchant in the sense that I don't think his fouls are unearned for the most part. Do I think he gets a lot of calls? Yes. But do I think they're calls based on contact? Also, yes. There are a lot of players who look to get to the line, a lot of players who try to, if you want to call it manipulate the game to get to the line. Guess what? You're including Kobe. You're including Jordan. You're including Brian and I covered the last 10 years of Kobe's career. Let me tell you something. That dude was trying his damnedest to get to the line every time he ever put up a shot or drove or frankly touched the ball. Like, this is what they all do. I think it is different than, say, somebody like James Harden, who it felt, at least to me, because I know there's those comparisons, and I think there are people now that are talking about SGA basically like he's just skinny, unbearded Harden. But I don't think James Harden, the difference to me between SGA and James Harden is Harden to me often felt like he was looking for the foul first and foremost, and whatever shot, whatever basketball move second. SGA to me always looks like, or for the most part, basketball move first, seeking out bucket first, foul second. And some of this is going to be in the eye of the beholder, whatever, but that's what it feels like to me. He also drives constantly,
I think it was something. I mean, he got a ton of calls in that game one. Again, I saw supercuts. I'm looking at most of these going, that's foul, folks. Like, I'm sure it's frustrating if you're a Minnesota fan, but it's like, or just don't like the way that SGA plays. You don't like the Thunder. You don't like whatever it is. But it's like those are fouls. And he had something like 28 drives. I read that Wednesday in some of the post-game stuff. Like that, if you don't want SGA to get calls like that, keep him out of the paint. And what I find remarkable,
easier said than done.
I didn't say that's why nobody can do it. It's why he shoots 12 a game or whatever it was. I don't like the guys who stand out and like shoot threes, Reggie Miller style, and kick their leg and try to that's BS.
I think Harden did a lot of that. I think James Harden did a ton of that.
He does. Or the guys who try to get it and leap 7 feet forward to try to get contact. But they're again, another one of these plays where they were showing, and it was Shai driving around Nikola Alexander Walker, cousin on cousin crime.
First time, to the best of my knowledge, since T-Mac and Vince Carter.
I think it was Nikola. It might have been that, or it was either him or McDaniels. And he gets just a little bit around a little bit of corner, or then he gets his shoulder ahead of the defender, and then he cuts inside to try to get to the basket, to draw the contact, and then immediately off the bump, bounces back, and I realize Shai's 6'6". He's not Allen Iverson little, but he's 6'6", listed at 6'6", 195. Like, that's skinny. That's, you take a bump from a guy who's a couple 100 pounds, everybody's moving quickly. Two things are happening. A, I do think physics is at play here. And then also, Shai takes that contact and intentionally is moving his body away from the defender so he can get the shot off. Because, like you say, I think he's trying to score.
Yes.
I find the reason nobody can stop us, and you'll see different interviews with different players around, like, the reason Shai gets so many calls to me is because he plays differently than everyone. Brunson, at a different pace and in a different way with New York, does the same kinds of things. They have mastered aspects of body control and angles and play. They have all these other things that other players, the reason they don't get those calls, they can't do those things. And I don't think it's fair to punish Shai, whether that's by the officials or by the NBA Illuminati, saying how horrible he is for basketball. Don't punish his incredible gift and skill at what he does. It drives me nuts. I think it's incredible to watch what he's capable of doing.
Last thing before we get to how some of this relates back to the Lakers and the playoffs in general, relating back to the Lakers, I would just say, because a lot of the people that complain about this stuff, at least I think, a lot of them are kind of old school, or they get melded into the people that complain that the game isn't what it used to be for pick a variety of reasons. If you are older school, I would think you would like Shai's game because he covets the mid-range. Like, he actually goes to that spot over and over that a lot of older basketball fans, some would even call them purists, say has vanished from the game because of the analytics and the eggheads and the venture capitalists who, data geeks who took over these teams. Yeah, like, they took over these teams, decided that's the least efficient spot, and it has become coveted less. Shai lives there. Like, I would think anybody who sort of loves the science of the game would love Shai's game just on that alone.
Totally agree. We'll get to some of these, this ESPN has a really great article about what teams that are out of the playoffs can learn from the teams that are in it. But in terms of this conversation that we're having here as we wrap up, for the Lakers' perspective, this to me is where the NBA's problem that they've developed of having what essentially amount to two different sports. Part of the reason people are frustrated with Shai is because they look at Shai doing one thing and then, like, Alex Caruso, quite frankly, mauling Nikola Jokic in the previous round. Everybody's like, oh my God, scrappy defense. But you go near, and post defense is different than
it's always been.
It
shouldn't be, but it always is.
It's different. Little guy guarding big guy, it's different. But they look at the differences in the physicality, they look at the differences and all that other stuff and say, like, how is one thing fair and what isn't? But the other part of this that is a problem for the NBA is because for 82 games, fans watched something being done one way, and then the playoffs start, and now everything is different. It's a different sport with different, criteria for what's a foul and the amount of contact that's allowed and all these other things. The NBA needs to smooth that out, because from a fan experience, it's important. But from, like, a team like the Lakers, how you build a team, this stuff matters, because, like, if you're not going to be in a situation where players can expect to get some calls, at least, that they got in the regular season, well, then a player like Austin Reeves has to approach things very differently for the postseason than they do the regular season, because part of his skill set is drawing fouls. And if all of a sudden that doesn't work anymore, not because he's not getting fouled, but because the threshold for what people are willing to call, because it's the playoffs, changes. That changes the composition of how teams operate, which players are effective, what kinds of teams you have to put together, and all that. It matters how these games are officiated in the postseason.
I would agree. I mean, the league, to be fair, did make an effort this season from, like, the beginning of the regular season to bring more physicality into the game. Like, that was something that they were looking to do. So even if you think it wasn't quite as seamless as it should have been from the regular season to the playoffs, it is something that they were looking to do. And truth be told, this has been an issue for the league since I've been watching it, and I've been watching it like 30-something years. Like, there's a reason playoff foul exists in our lexicon. Like, this is nothing new. This has been going on forever. I mean, the advice that I would give for a team like the Lakers, be the team that you want to be in the playoffs during the regular season. And I would start accounting for more physicality in the regular season. And for, like, part of the reason that the Thunder get to play the defense that they do is they have established, all of this season and a lot of last season, this is how we play defense. Yeah. I've heard, I want to say, I don't remember who it was. NBA punditry, but somebody comparing the Thunder to the Seattle Sonics Legion of Boom, and the way that incredible defensive back quartet that they had with Pete Carroll's Super Bowl winning Seahawks, where they treated every single play, we are going to commit a penalty. You're not going to call them all. And they established that as part of their brand. And I think the Lakers, look, JJ Redick implored the team on more than one occasion during the season, foul more, be more physical. Like, I'm giving you mulligans. I will not be mad. So, like, there is space for the Lakers, I think, to occupy more here. And a guy like Austin, look, he didn't get as many calls as he likely expected. He also didn't drive as much in the postseason.
Yeah, I'm going to say, I don't think this wasn't the reason he was ineffective.
No. And look, I broke down, I took a look at some of the numbers, and, he, in the regular season, he was averaging 10.6 drives per game, postseason 7.2. And, like, the free throws compared to drives wasn't an exact perfect ratio. Like, he was getting fewer calls in the playoffs than comparatively off drives than he was in the regular season. But I think also when you drive less often and you drive less aggressively, it's going to affect some of the calls that you do get.
No question.
And also that threshold also can rise up in a lot of ways for the difference between guys who are considered, all-star adjacent, very good players to SGA. Like, SGA is going to get some calls Austin doesn't get because he's SGA and Austin ain't.
He's also better at doing the thing that Austin is trying to do.
Yes.
And I'm not trying to say that but Luka is a guy who drawing fouls in contact and all that is a big part of his game as well. Getting to the free throw line, it's important. LeBron, same way, less so now than it used to be, but similar.
But Luka got to the line a lot.
He did
during the playoffs.
But some of these, and some of these things change. He actually couldn't hit a shot. It was the one thing that really kept his offense. I
was going to say, Luka's bigger problem was not making his free throws as opposed. He averaged in these playoffs 9 trips to the line. Like, his problem was not getting
hit a jumper. Yeah, he couldn't hit a jumper. I think it's the NBA, in my opinion, needs to find a little bit more consistency, and where playoff things changes, to me, shouldn't be within 10-15%. What's a foul? What's not a foul? That shouldn't change by more than 10 or 15%, in my opinion. What should change is the leeway you get to be emotional, to be intense, to yell, the little pushing and shoving and stuff like that. That stuff you
absolutely
give them space for that. But a foul should be a foul. And I think that, to me, is also too what feeds the NBA's, this sort of conspiracy theory thing that dogs the NBA in ways that I think it doesn't in other.
Yes, but again, playoff foul exists in our lexicon because there have been people who delight in the idea of a playoff foul. I mean, some of this is people complain. People like to complain, and because we live online, we hear all the complaints 24/7 in a way that it used to be just people bitching anonymously in their domiciles, and we didn't hear from everybody all at once.
Before the venture capitalists.
Yes.
Well, you mentioned the foul thing. That's something we'll talk about tomorrow when we go through what the teams like the Lakers can learn from who is still alive in the playoffs. Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where you can go hang out with 35,000 plus subscribers. We'll see everyone tomorrow.